Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, it's still about a minute to go. I think there's people still entering the meeting. Okay. Hello. Okay, so this is the Java class. We'll go ahead and get started. There might still be a few more people joining, but we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to meet like this every Tuesday and Thursday. We'll meet at 3:30 for an hour or so. And these meetings will be chance for, well, we'll go over the new material. We'll do a lot of demonstrations of Java programs, and you'll get a chance to ask questions. Um, about questions, Zoom has a little thing where you could raise your hand, but it doesn't really work very well. It's hard for me to, especially with this many people, and there's gonna be about 40 people in here. If you have a question, just unmute yourself and ask a question. Yeah, it works a lot better that way than doing the little raising hand. Sometimes people ask each other questions over chat. That's fine, but I'm not really paying attention to the chat window because there's just too many things to try to watch at once. So if you have, if you want to chat, that's fine. If you ask me a question on the chat, I probably won't see it. If you have a question, best thing to do is just unmute yourself and just shout out a question. So if there's anything, if there's anything that comes up, if you're unsure about something, if you're just any kind of question you have, just come up, just unmute yourself and ask. Okay. And mostly when we have meetings like this, what I'm going to do in a minute is switch to sharing my desktop with you. So that way you can see what I'm doing with my computer, because that's going to be the main thing. I'll be showing you Java programs and the tools we use for writing Java programs. So most of the time we'll be working with me showing you my desktop. And occasionally, if sometimes there might be a time when somebody wants to show their desktop, then we could do something like switch to somebody else's desktop. Somebody can show something. But for the most part, it'll be me showing you my desktop. And like I say, anytime you want, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Okay. Now let's see. I mean, I think most people are here at this point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to showing you my desktop. I'm going to share my screen, share my desktop. So I'm going to switch to sharing the desktop. Okay. Does that look right? You see the desktop now? Okay. So like for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up Chrome, and I'm going to go to the website for this class. You have a Brightspace. In Brightspace, you have this class is in Brightspace, but in fact, most of the material, all the material for the class isn't going to be on Brightspace. It's actually going to be on a website. I prefer using a website over Brightspace. You will use Brightspace for submitting homework assignments and getting your grades back. So Brightspace will be where you turn in homework assignments and where you'll see your grade listing in the Brightspace page for this class. But the actual homework assignment, the actual course itself, if you Google my name, ROGERKRFT, usually at the top you'll get my university website. So you click on that, and here's a list of the courses I'm teaching. Okay, so this is the Tuesday, Thursday Java class. Here's the homepage for this course. Okay, here's a link to the Zoom meetings. This link should work for every Zoom meeting. It should be the same link for every meeting all semester long. So there's a link to the Zoom meeting. And this is also a link to the office hours. I'll have office hours every Monday and Wednesday, 2 to 3. Okay, so there's a Zoom link to join office hour meetings. If you have questions, you can come to the office hour and ask questions, but you can also, anytime you want, send me an email or request a Zoom meeting. So for example, the office hours are like a shared meeting. So if you want to ask questions in a little bit more private way, send me an email and ask for a Zoom meeting, and we can set up a Zoom meeting and you can ask questions more privately. But if you want to meet in the office hour, that's fine too. Okay. So there's the two links to the class meetings and the office hours meeting. Then the course website has 3 pages. This link is to the syllabus. Okay, so we'll go over the syllabus in a minute. Then this link here is to the daily schedule. This is the most important page. This page lists what we're responsible for each day we meet. So I'll tell you what reading assignments there are. I'll have example programs up here. And there's another link to the Zoom meeting here. When the class is over with, I'm recording this meeting, and I'll put a link to the recording. I'm going to put the recordings up on YouTube, and I'll put a link to the recording right here. So instead of the invite, there'll be a link to the video of the meeting. So each day's class, there'll be at the beginning there'll be a link to the invite, and then after the classes there'll be a link to the video. And then like here, there's an announcement that your first homework assignment's available. We'll talk about that a little bit as we go along. And then we're going to go through this today. There's instructions on how to install Java on your computer at home. Okay, and then there's a couple links to reading assignments in the textbook. Okay, so this is the most important page in the website because it lists what we do each day. Then there's a third page that has your homework assignments on it. And we'll look at this in a minute too. So your first homework assignment is already up there. We'll look at it soon. Okay, so now the syllabus points out that there's 2 textbooks for the class. They're both free online textbooks. So for example, here's one of the textbooks. This is the textbook itself. The textbook is pretty readable. It's a free interactive textbook. It reads pretty well even on a cell phone. If you go to if you go to this website using a cell phone, you just Google the name of the book is Think Java. If you Google Think Java, you'll pretty much get to this page pretty quick. And yeah, you can read it on a tablet, you can read it on a cell phone. If you want, you can buy the book, but there's no real need to. But it actually is the book is available as a physical book, but there's no need for it. But some schools use it as a textbook. Well, we're using it as a textbook. Some people like to just own the physical book itself. Okay, so that's one of the 2 textbooks. And then there's another textbook that we'll also make use of that, again, is a free online book. This one doesn't exist as a physical book. It only exists as an online book. Here's the table of contents. Okay, so we're going to alternate readings between these 2 textbooks. This one will be probably the more common reading, but then we'll also supplement it with readings from this other textbook. Both books are interactive. I'll show you what that means in a minute, but they actually have, you can write code and practice Java right in the book itself. We'll see that in a minute. But the book actually has the ability to type Java code right into it and compile and run it. So we'll see how that works. Okay.
What is the name of the second book?
Introduction to Programming with Java. Real generic name.
Yeah, I thought it was like a title of the article. That's why I couldn't even tell.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a gazillion books with that title, Introduction to Programming with Java. It's a nice book. It's very interactive. So it's a bit unusual. There's not too many who quite like it. It has lots of see all these are questions that you can answer. While you're reading, you're supposed to answer problems. You can say check me, and it'll tell you whether you got the problem right or wrong. So as you're reading, there's lots of problems that ask you to answer questions. There are actually going to be little programming assignments. There's also ads mixed in here. So sometimes you'll see ads mixed in with the book. Like here's an example where there's actually coding example built into the book. So you can run the program. So that's one of the things where it makes this interesting, is that there is the book itself is interactive. It's not just reading. You can answer problems as you go along as you're reading the book. Okay. And this book is similar. This one doesn't have quite as much interactive stuff, but it's a very well-written book. Okay, so there's the links to the 2 books at the top of the syllabus. Here's another link to the invite page for the Zoom meetings and another link to the invite page for the office hours. They're part of the syllabus too. Then here's the key part is your grade for this class is going to be half programming assignments. There's going to be a programming assignment every week or 2 in this class. These are programming assignments that you'll turn in on Brightspace. These are programming assignments that you'll get a grade for. There'll be other programming assignments that I just give you as homework problems for practice, things that we'll do in class, things that you can do to practice. Those won't be for a grade, but they'll be on this page here. This is where you'll get homework assignments that are part of your grade. And there'll be about 8 of them, I think, by the end of the semester. Okay, so they're worth half your grade. Then there's going to be 2 midterm exams that will take. There'll be at-home exams. You'll take these sitting at your desk at home, and then you'll upload your exam papers to me, and I'll grade them. And there'll be 2 midterm exams and a final exam. Okay, and here's dates for everything. Okay, so you have a sense of when these things are coming up. Okay, and the rest of the syllabus, you should read it. There's a lot of little details about things about the course. So look through here's the grading scale. Look through the syllabus. Okay. If you go back to this page here, when there's a reading assignment, I'll link directly to the reading assignment. So here it says, for today, read chapter 1. Okay, so there's chapter 1. That's what we're going to talk about today. Most of what we'll talk about today is in chapter 1. Then here's another reading assignment for what we will talk about on Wednesday. Usually, I'll give you a reading assignment for what we will talk about the next day. But since today's the first day, here's the reading assignment for what we will cover today, and then there's 2 reading assignments because this is the reading assignment for what we will cover on Wednesday. On next. Actually, this should have said Thursday. Yeah, that's a misprint. Okay, there's a Monday, Wednesday class and a Tuesday, Thursday class. So this is the Tuesday, Thursday class. So this one should have said for Thursday, read chapter 2. I'll fix that after class. Okay, so chapter 1 is kind of short. Chapter 2 is not short. Chapter 2 is something that's where we really start talking about Java in detail. So chapter 2, read chapter 1. It's get you started, but then the real meat for what we're going to be talking about this rest of this week and a little bit of next week is what's in chapter 2. Then this is an example of a homework problem that'll be just for practice, not something that'll be graded. So I mentioned at the end of chapter 1, if you go to the very end of chapter 1, there's a exercise. Okay, so I want you to do that exercise. Okay, so I kind of assign this as something for you to do for practice. So on the syllabus, on this course page, I'll occasionally list problems that I think you should do that are for practice, not for a grade. And those are problems that we can talk about in class. You can, if you have questions about them, you can always send me email. So for each day, there'll be example programs we're going to work on, readings for what we're going to talk about the next day, and possibly little homework assignment, problems. Sometimes from the book, sometimes they'll be from other places. Okay, all right. So check this page real often. There'll be an entry in this page for each day we meet. So this is today's entry. Then there'll be an entry for Thursday, probably tomorrow. The entry for Thursday will probably show up tomorrow. Okay, all right. So the first thing we need to do today is this is a course in programming Java. You need Java on your computer. So it says here, on your home computer, install Java. Okay, we're not, I gotta update this too. I thought we were gonna use Java 11. It turns out Java 11 is not compatible with what we're working with. So we're gonna be using Java 8. So I have to fix that. So go to these instructions. Okay, we're gonna install this thing called Java 8. It's the 8th version of the Java language, so people refer to it as Java 8. The actually current version of the Java language is 14, but they're mostly minor changes. Java 8's most of the textbooks out there are based on Java 8. Okay, so you need to install Java on your computer. Okay, now some of you may actually already have it on your computer, but it usually doesn't do any harm to reinstall it. But if you haven't, well, I'll show you the steps of installing it, and you can see, maybe you'll see that you already have it. Right. So we're going to use a version of Java that comes from Amazon. So Amazon is the source of the version of Java we're going to be using. So you click on this link, and it'll download a Java installer. Pay attention to where you download it to. Now, in my case, I'm downloading it to my desktop. So see, it's right there on my desktop. So pay attention to where you downloaded this installer to, okay? And then double click on the installer and run it. Now, I'm not going to actually install Java because I already have it on this computer, but you double click on the installer and you click next, and then you just keep clicking next. Just let the installer do what it wants to do. What it defaults to are all for almost everybody, the correct thing. So now at this point, it's about to actually do the install. This little button with the shield on it means it's going to ask me for a password. Most computers nowadays will ask you for a password before you install anything. Some are set up not to ask you for a password. You need to know the password for your computer. So for example, if I click on this, it'll take a little while. Your screen probably went blank. It's asking me for a password right now. Okay, so now Zoom doesn't show you me being asked for a password. Now I'm going to click no. Okay, do you see my desktop?
No.
No, yeah. See, the login screen actually confused Zoom. So what I have to do to get my desktop back is this is a problem with Zoom. I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to start sharing again because the password screen actually messes up Zoom. This won't happen to you, but the password screen is special. Windows password screens are very special because Windows wants to make sure that no program can imitate a password screen. So password screens are different enough that Zoom even gets mixed up. You see my desktop again now? Does everybody see the desktop?
Yes.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
the password screen really confused Zoom, and once the password screen popped up, Zoom was lost. Okay, so you need to download this installer. You need to download the installer. Make sure I download everything to my desktop. That's the way I have Chrome set up. Make sure you know where the installer is downloaded to. Run the installer, and that'll put Java on your computer. When you're done with the installer, you can just delete it. You don't need to keep it. Okay. So that's step one. You install Java on your computer. Okay. Step two is to download a program that lets us write Java documents. We create Java documents similarly to the way you create Word documents or PowerPoint documents. You use a word processor to create Word documents. You use the PowerPoint program to create PowerPoint documents. We're going to use something called Dr. Java to create Java documents. The Java documents are the things that we call programming. Now, this is a zip file that's actually going to be, you're downloading this from my website. You download this zip file and it's got Dr. Java in it. So you keep track of where you downloaded it to. Okay, in my case, I'm downloading it to my desktop. It's right here. Okay. This is a zip file. This is a bunch of files compressed together. Now, zip file, if you're not used to, if you don't work a lot with computers, you may not be familiar with zip files. So let me show you real quick, if you're not familiar with zip files, what they are. If you double click on this file, Windows is acting funny. Oh, it opened up on my other monitor. One sec. I have two monitors. It opened up on my other monitor. Okay, so see, if I double click on this, it opens up. It looks like a window. It looks like a window for a folder, but this is not a folder. It's what we call a zip file. It's actually a bunch of files bundled together into one file. This is one file with a number of files bundled into it. You can't work with this zip file. It is not a good idea to treat a zip file as if it was a folder. What you need to do is right-click on the zip file and extract it into a folder. Now notice this is real confusing. This is actually a bad design choice on Microsoft's part. Here's a zip file. Here's what it unzipped to. This is a zip file. This is a folder, and they look a heck of a lot alike. Okay? They look a heck of a lot alike, and they are not alike at all. The only warning that this is a zip file is this little colored tab up here, which if I scrunch this in, goes away almost. Yeah. So, but that is actually telling you that this is a zip file. You can't run programs from inside zip files. You can sometimes open documents in zip files, but you can never run a program from inside a zip file. You should always, whenever you download a zip file for this course or for any other course, you should immediately unzip it to a real folder and then probably just delete the zip file. Usually you don't need the zip file after you've unzipped it. But notice that Windows purposely makes zip files look like folders. That was a design choice on their part, and it causes lots of confusion. It was a bad design choice on their part. Other than this little colored thing here that says the word extract, that's the only warning you get that this thing is not the same thing as this thing over here, okay? Now, let me show you another thing. Notice that the icon of this file is different than the icon of this. This is a folder icon, this is a zip file icon. Notice that this thing also has a name that says .zip. On your computer, you may not see the .zip here. Okay, now let me show you something. If you open this folder and you click on View, you see a little checkbox here that says File Name Extensions. That's, on most Windows, that's unchecked like this. Usually that's how your Windows computer is. It has that little checkbox unchecked. When you uncheck that checkbox, notice that these two files now have the same name. They both say CS123, CS123. This is even more confusing. They look like I have two files with the same name. This file actually has a .zip on the end of its name, but Windows is not showing you that. Now, if you open this folder, all the files in this folder lost their .extensions. Like this is a .pdf file, but it doesn't tell you that here. This is a .pdf file, but it doesn't tell you that. This one's a .jar file, but it doesn't tell you that. But if you go back here, you click on View, and you should do this on your computer at home. I strongly recommend that you do this on your computer. Click on View and click this little box that says File Name Extensions. See how the little extensions all showed up? We're going to work with files a lot in programming classes. If you don't have file name extensions turned on, you'll have a lot of files with the same name. And if you don't pay attention to the little icon over here, you won't necessarily know what they are. And we're going to work with a lot of different kinds of files. We're going to work with Java files, class files, exe files. And it's much better to have the file name extensions turned on. Okay? So Windows by default does not have file name extensions turned on. I think you should turn them on your machine at home. When you turn them on, that helps here with the zip file. At least you see that that file's got a zip extension and it's got the little zip icon. When you download things from the course website, they'll often be zip files. Like the homework assignment. When you download the homework assignment, you will be downloading a zip file again. And the first thing you need to do with the zip file is always unzip it. So you'll download a zip file, unzip it, then you can just delete the zip file. You don't really need it after you've unzipped it. Now this zip file, I want you to cut it and paste it onto your C drive. Okay, I have a copy of it there already. Paste it into your C drive, okay? Because that way it's in a place where we all know where it is. You don't have to do this step. For example, you could leave that folder on your desktop. But I think it's a good idea for it to be in one place on your computer that if you have questions, it kind of helps that this file is in one place. Inside that file is this thing called Dr. Java. This is the program that lets us write Java programs. It's like Word, but for Java documents, or like PowerPoint. PowerPoint lets you create PowerPoint documents. Word lets you create Word documents. This is an editor that lets you create Java documents. Okay, and then this is an example Java document that I wrote as a demo that we're going to use to make sure that Java is working on our computer. Okay, so if you double click on, now what I a lot of times do is you can create a shortcut to this on your desktop. So notice that what I do here is I right click, I'm using my mouse to right click on this, and I can click on copy. Then down over here on my desktop, I can click right click again and paste shortcut. Okay, And then I have a shortcut to this program here. And that's sometimes kind of convenient. You could have a shortcut to that program on your desktop, or you can just remember that you have Dr. Java in this folder on your C drive. If you want, you can put it other places. It doesn't really have to be on your C drive, but I kind of just recommend that you put it there. Okay, if you run Dr. Java,
Where again do we download this from?
my website.
Yeah, but I'm going through the tabs on the left. I can't find it. Which one is it?
Well, okay, under lectures and reading, it's this link on this page here. See, it's this one on your computer as described in these instructions. So it's not a link on the left side. It's a link in this page here. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
So click there. Okay. That's where the page is. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I should put a link to it on the left-hand side. Okay. So that's where this installing instructions are. Okay. So then this page is on the course website. This is a link to Amazon, and this is a link also to my course website. You're downloading this thing from my course website. Okay, so we've got Java. Now, Dr. Java won't run if you haven't installed Java first. Dr. Java is itself a Java program. That's what it means to say jar. See, it says JAR. JAR stands for Java Archive. Dr. Java is a Java program. If you don't have Java installed through this first step, Dr. Java won't run if you double click on it. Okay, so Dr. Java supposes that you have Java already on your computer. Then if you have Java on your computer, you can start Dr. Java. It's a little bit slow to start. Okay, and this is what Dr. Java looks like. It's actually an editor. It lets us we type into this box here, we type files and save them, okay? So for example, here's an example Java document. I can load it into Dr. Java. And this is just a little demo program I wrote. Here's a Java program. We'll see, if you read the first chapter of the textbook, it talks about what it means to compile and run a Java program. So here I'm going to show you in Dr. Java, if I want to run a Java program, I first have to take this. Now, what I have here is, this is a Java document, and I've opened it in this Java editor. Notice it's more or less human readable. Okay, it's text you can read. So this is code that we're really learning to write in this class. Computers don't understand this kind of code. Computers understand something called machine code. In computer programming, we call the translation step from human readable code to machine code compiling. If you click on that button, over here you see these extra files got created. These are the translations of this code to machine code. If you open one of these guys, they look like gibberish. They are something called machine code. There's a little bit of readable code mixed in, and there's a bunch of gibberish in there. They're actually not human readable. They're actually what you'll learn about next year in computer science curriculum when you study computer architecture. They're what's called machine code. So Dr. Java takes care of compiling your code from the human readable Java file into the machine readable computer files. Then if you want to run this program, now after you compile it, you can't run it till after you compile it, then you can run. Now you're actually running these guys, you're not running this. You click on the run button and this program runs. Now this program popped up this little window. See this little window up here. Whoops, I closed it by accident. See this little window was popped up by my Java program. And it's a button. If you click on the button, see down here in Dr. Java, this button is saying ouch every time you click on it. Okay, so this is a little Java program that creates a button, and every time you click, the button says hi, and every time you click on the button says ouch. Okay, so it's just a little Java program. Right? Then if you click this, the Java program closes. Okay, so now if I want, for example, here's where the button says hi. Okay, I can change that to say hello. Now notice I've changed the Java program. I can recompile it, say yes, and I can rerun it. And notice I changed the program. Now the program button says hello instead of hi. And over here, this is where the button says, where's ouch? Oh, see, here's the ouch that the button says. I'll change that to hi. So I'm changing the Java program. That changes what it does, but I have to. Now notice, see this little star up here? That's the symbol that I've changed the file. Just like in Word, what that means is the code that's in this window has not yet been saved to that file on the hard drive. This is just like Word. You know, they always tell you, save your files, save your documents, save your documents. What you see here, this isn't necessarily what is stored on the hard drive. If my computer blew up right now, the changes I made here would not be stored over here. If I click save, what that really means is transfer what's in this window to this file over here. So I click save, that little star goes away, and what I changed here gets saved here. The compile button does not compile what's in this window. This is actually a weird trick. The compile button doesn't compile what's in this window. The compile button compiles what's in this file over here. So if I make a change, over here, okay, and if I click the compile button, notice that I haven't saved it. If I click the compile button, Dr. Java warns you that what you have in this window has not been saved here. So actually, this is a nice feature. Dr. Java reminds you that you really ought to save your file before compiling. So if you click yes, Dr. Java will save it for you. And if you want, you can click this little button and Dr. Java will always remember to save your file every time you click the compile button, which is actually the best way to do things, to click that button and have Dr. Java always save your files whenever you click compile. So I'll just say yes. Dr. Java saved my file, compiled it, and now if I run it, see, now the button is saying hi, 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 hi. Okay, so this is what programming is. You've got a document that describes your program. We'll learn how to make changes, how to write these documents and make changes to the documents. We'll compile the document and run it. And we want to control what the computer does. Eventually, we'd like to see how you can create GUIs, like, you know, this is a real simple little GUI. The GUI is so simple, it just pops up one button, and you click on the button, and it just prints a little bit of text. Okay, so that's the bare bones of the idea of much more elaborate GUIs like this one here. You know, the buttons you see on this screen here are actually nothing more than just, this is just a GUI with one single button in it, which is kind of dumb, but it just shows that that's the very bare bones example of a program that just has one single button to it. Notice it takes a lot of code to even create just one button. It takes all this code to create that window with just one button in it, okay? So, but Java programming is creating a Java document in Dr. Java, compiling it, and then running it. Programs have, programming languages, just like all languages, have rules. So see all these little semicolons? They have to be there by the rules of the language. I deleted one of the semicolons. If I compile the program, Java now complains that I'm breaking one of the rules of the Java language. I forgot a semicolon at the end of that. So, sort of like a state. That's like a sentence, but we call them statements. Each line of your code is called a statement. Sentences in English end with a period. Statements in Java end with a semicolon. And if you forget the semicolon, now in English, if you forget a period, if you forget a comma, most of the time people can still read your emails. In fact, most people don't even put punctuation in their emails, and people have no trouble reading them. Programming languages like Java are not human languages. Java compilers and all programming language compilers complain bitterly if you forget even the simplest kind of punctuation mark. They'll say, will not let me run the program. Even though you would think that it knows exactly what I mean by this, it's just like forgetting a period in an English sentence. It doesn't work that way in programming languages. They're very, very picky. Even simple little mistakes stop you dead in your tracks. Part of programming is learning to find these mistakes and correct them so that you can recompile the program without any mistakes and then run them. When you're typing your own program, like in homework, you'll make lots of little mistakes, and the compiler will constantly complain about them. So for example, if I forget a parentheses, I get a different mistake. Here, see, notice it noticed that I forgot a parentheses, which is kind of good. Sometimes the error messages are going to be very confusing. So for example, this guy is a brace. If I remove that brace, okay, notice that I removed the brace from line 14, but Java is complaining about line 13. Okay, well, yeah, it's not too bad. The mistake is actually on line 14, but the error is on line 13. Sometimes the mistake will be nowhere near where the error message is. And that's one of the confusing things, is sometimes the error message is very far from where the mistake really is. Okay, and notice how many, actually, notice I deleted one brace, and look how many actual errors I got. That caused a cascade of errors. You almost always want to look at the very first error, because all the other errors are just a sort of cascade of errors that just happen this way. This is one of the problems with programming. One tiny little mistake can cause 100 errors to show up, but only one of them is a real error. In this case, it's the very first one. The very first one, that's the real error, and it's really telling us that we're missing this brace here. Okay, so I fixed that. Now the program will compile. This is what the course is about: learning the language, typing code, learning how to find mistakes. The compiler kind of tells you where you have mistakes. You read the messages from the compiler, and it gives you hints about where the mistakes are. And sometimes you'll have to send me an email saying, where's the mistake in my program? Because sometimes the compiler will give you such a mystical message that you may not actually know where the mistake is. And I get, it's not unusual for me for a student to send me an email with their code saying, I don't understand the error the compiler is giving me. And when you're starting out, that's pretty common. So if you get an error message from a compiler and you just cannot figure out what it's saying, email your code to me and say, I've got an error message that I don't understand. Okay, so email. Usually, when something like that happens, the best thing to do is take that file, like this one here, this file, and email it to me. Send it to me as an attachment, and say in an email message, this thing is giving me an error and I don't understand it. Sometimes people will send me a screenshot of the error too. That's okay. You can send me the file. You can send me a screenshot of the error. Whatever you think might help me understand what your problem is, or to help you ask the question. But at the beginning, especially at the beginning of the class, it is not uncommon for the Dr. Java to give you an error message down here that is almost inscrutable. Something that you really have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, all right. So that's the rough sense of what computer programming is. You're going to create Java documents. We're going to create a lot of them in class as examples. In fact, most of what you're going to do is you will be taking examples that we work on in class and modify them. Occasionally you'll be writing your own examples, but most of the time you'll take examples like this that we write in class, and you'll learn to modify them to change them. So you'll be taking Java documents, modifying them, compiling them, running them. So it'll be compile, run, until it does what you want it to do. And most of what we wanted to do is to print output in this window down here. See, this window down here is actually called the console window. This window is where you get the compiler error messages. This window is where the program prints its output. And most of your homework assignments will be to write programs that print output here, that do and prompt for input. We'll see that we can prompt for input and print output down here under what's called the console. And your programs mostly you'll interact with your programs through the console here. Okay, and so you'll be writing programs to interact with the user in the console, and you'll be learning to write programs that behave in a certain way. We'll give you directions like write a program that does this. Given a bunch of numbers, find the largest of the numbers. Given a bunch of numbers, find the smallest of the numbers. Given a bunch of numbers, find the average of the numbers. You know, little problems like that. We'll do lots of little, we start off with simple kind of, homework assignment 1 is not write an app that's going to make you $1 million. That comes much later. Okay, homework assignments begin with simple things like given 5 numbers, figure out which is the largest of the 5 numbers. Or given 5 numbers, figure out which is the smallest or the average. Or given 5 numbers, print them in ascending order from smallest to largest. Those are the kind of simple little problems that we learn how to program in an introductory programming class. Okay, all right. Anybody got any question? Let me just stop and say, anybody got any question at this point?
My Dr. Java, when it shows here, it does not have the little number lines as you do.
Oh, okay, great. That's a good point. Yeah, see, I already had Dr. Java running on my computer. When you start Dr. Java, it doesn't have the line numbers. You definitely want them. You click on Edit, Preferences, and you go to this thing that says Display Options. And there's a little checkbox there. Where is it? Oh, here. Show line numbers. See, if I uncheck that, see, I lost the line numbers. That's the way Dr. Java starts out. So you want to go to Edit, Preferences, Display Option, Show Line Numbers, and you definitely want the line numbers. I think it's a mistake of Dr. Java to not have them turned on automatically. Because the error messages from the compiler refer to line numbers. So, when you make a mistake in a program and you compile it, notice that it tells you line number 20. See, there's line number 20. Now it highlights the line too, but it also gives you the line number. And when you're talking to people about code, line numbers are the way to do it. Say, I don't understand line 25, or I don't understand what you're doing on line 28, or Java gave me an error message about line 30. So we use the line numbers constantly. They're our frame of reference for everything. So that's a good point. Turn on the line numbers in Dr. Java. Okay? Other questions? Anybody else got a question at this point?
And also, for some reason, oh no, nothing. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, never mind.
Okay. Yeah, and well, yeah, we're gonna be Dr. Java. Now, remember, I told you that the textbook is interactive. So there's a way to enter code and run code in the textbook. I'll show you in a minute. But Dr. Java is the way you do your homework assignments. Your homework assignments are done doing Dr. Java. Actually, let me switch to the textbook real quick and show you something. Okay. So I'm going to go to chapter 1 of the textbook. Okay, you're reading along, and you get to this box here. This is a box with a program in it that you can run. This is like a mini version of Dr. Java embedded into the book. So if I click this run, now it doesn't have a separate compile run button. This interface has a single run button, and it compiles and then runs. So when I click the run button, you'll see over here a little thing that says compiling, and then it'll run the program. See it's compiling. Okay, now see the output, okay, let's compare this to Dr. Java. See if I can kind of get both to fit on the wheel. I'm going to try to show you both of them at the same time. Okay, I can kind of almost fit them here. Here's where you type code. Here's where you type code in Dr. Java. Here's where the output appears to the right. Here's where the output appears in Dr. Java, down below. Okay, so this is Java's editing pane. This is Java's output pane. Over here, this is the editing pane, and this is the output pane. Dr. Java has a separate compile and run button. This just has a run button. Suppose I do the little dumb mistake of forgetting the semicolon. I click run, and I get an error message. Notice it doesn't really, it kind of not, it says, hello Java 5. There's the line number. So it's saying on line 5, a semicolon was expected. And then it printed out line 5, but notice that line 5 didn't even fit. So it kind of, see, there's line 5 wrapped around and it's missing the semicolon. So there's one error. Okay, so I fix it, and then I run it again, and it compiles and runs. Now, if I want, I can change the output, change the code, run it. Notice now it says hello world without the space in it. And I can do anything I want. I can put I can go back over here. I can put a bunch of spaces in there and click run. See? So in the book is a little mini version of Dr. Java. Now here, what they're doing is they're talking about this example in the book. In the textbook, they're describing to you this example, and so you can read about the example, but you can also play with it directly. If you want, you could do something like this. You could even take this example, copy it, go over here, create a new Java document, paste it. Okay. Now, notice that right now I have a Java document in this editing window, but Dr. Java wants to work with files. I need to save this as a file before I can actually compile it. For example, if I compile it, Java is going to complain that says you need to save this. But see, it actually prompts me to say, where do you want to save it? I'm going to go ahead and save it on my desktop. And here's a real important thing. See how this thing is called public class hello? The file name must agree with that class name. Otherwise, Java doesn't work. This is a little quirk of Java. So I click save. And what I just did is I created this file on my hard drive. See? And then I can compile it. Oh, and I've got to no, let's see. Oh, I need to get rid of that error message. See how I've got hello Java, hello class, and I can run it. And it runs here. You can go back and forth between working in the book and working in Dr. Java. Now, most of the examples in the book, there's no reason to copy them to Dr. Java. If you go, as you go down here, you'll see several examples in the book. So here's another code example in the book. And here's another code example in the book. They're nice. You can play with these examples directly in the book. If you wanted to, you can copy and paste them to Dr. Java. For example, I can copy and paste this. I create a new document. I paste it into Dr. Java. Now notice that this one's called goodbye. So this one should be saved on my desktop as a file called goodbye. Okay. And see, there's the goodbye file. When I compile it, I get goodbye.class. That's the translation to machine code. I can run it. Okay. It's not a very interesting program, but if you want, you can go back and forth between Dr. Java and the book. When you're reading the book, you probably don't want to go back and forth between Dr. Java and the book. But the thing is that Java code is Java code. Java code works anywhere there's a Java environment. So that Java code is legitimate Java code. So it can be run here. It can be run in Dr. Java. It can be run in any other version, any other program that's lets you create Java documents you can use. Some of you may have heard of Eclipse or IntelliJ or JetBeans. There's a whole bunch of different programs you can use to create Java documents. We're going to use Dr. Java because it's a good, simple one to use. And we're going to be using the textbooks here. So a Java program is a Java program. So you can copy these from and also if you want, you can copy from Dr. Java into the textbook too. You can put anything you want into this. I have no idea. Let me try something. I'm going to take this funny little Java program. Okay, I'm going to copy my little window creating program, put it in here. Okay, now I've got my little window creating program, which is much more elaborate than anything that's mostly in this textbook. Let's see if it runs. And it didn't like it. Probably there's a limit to how elaborate a program can be in this version of this. The Java in this book is probably restricted to pretty much just, oh, actually the name here is wrong. Oh, I think I can fix that. I need to make my name here agree with their name. Let's see if that, yeah, it didn't like it. It's too elaborate a program for it. See, this guy can't do GUIs. Yeah. So this textbook doesn't know how to pop up a window with a button in it. So it can only do what we call text output. It can't do a full GUI. So this is not a full-blown Java environment over here. That's what Dr. Java is. Dr. Java is a full-blown Java environment. It can do anything we want. The textbook's actually kind of restrictive. So the textbook doesn't have all of the Java language in it, but it has enough for doing the examples in the textbook. Okay, all right. So when you're reading the textbook, you'll see lots of these examples where you can, they'll tell you what the example does. They'll explain the idea. You can always run the example. And importantly, you can change it. You can make changes if you want. Think about what you would do. Think about what they told you. Think about, like, what would you do to change it to make it a little bit different? Okay, that's really what we hope is that as you're reading the book and you see these examples, you can think of experiments you might do to say, well, what if I make this change over here? What happens? Okay, all right. All right, so we've got a Dr. Java way of doing Java, which will be important. This is what your homework assignments will be. Your homework assignments will be over here. And then there's a version of Java built into the textbook itself. And there's also the other textbook also has a version of Java built into it. If you go over to this one, it looks a little bit different. Okay, here's their code. Here's their run button. Click on their run button and see it's compiling, and then the output appears in this gray box down here. So the output appears in this gray box. Okay, if you want, you can go and make changes to the program, like change this number to 1023. Okay, that was this number 23.5. If I run the program, see, I get a different output. I changed that one number in the program, so now I get a different output down here. Okay, so here, this is where you type the code. Again, like the other book, there's just a run button. There's not a separate compile run button. There's just a run button. And then the output appears just below it. Again, here they're explaining the code. I wish the ads weren't there. They're explaining the code. They give you an example. If you've read the explanation and you read the code, you might think of little changes you can make to the code. Try doing a little experiment. Try making changes, see how that affects the output, then continue reading. Sometimes the book will actually say, go back and make these changes and see what happens. Sometimes the book tells you to go back to the code and make a change and see what happens. Do little experiments. And you can see here's another example. Here's another example. Okay, here's another example. Then there's some questions. Okay, so I haven't given you a reading assignment from this book yet. There'll be a reading assignment from this book next week. Okay, but both textbooks have built-in problems and built-in Java programming built right into the book. Okay. Okay. I think this would work. I know that you can read this book on a cell phone. I had no trouble reading it on my cell phone. I'll bet these examples work on a cell phone, but they might be a little bit hard to manipulate. Yeah, you'll have to, if you want, you can play around with it on a cell phone. I think this will work on the cell phone. Okay, I know it reads real well on it formats itself pretty well on a small screen. The text of the book formats itself pretty well. Well, yeah, I didn't try running the Java programs. Okay, Dr. Java certainly does not run on a cell phone. Now, to do the homework assignments, you'll need a desktop computer. Dr. Java doesn't run on a Chromebook. It does run on a Mac. Dr. Java is written in Java. It'll run on Macs, Linux, and Windows, but it won't run on Chromebooks. At least as far as I know, it doesn't work on a Chromebook. If you've got a Chromebook, and if you're restricted to a Chromebook, you might want to send me an email and we'll talk about what you can do to replace this. So Chromebooks are kind of limited machines, and one of their biggest limitations is you can't do much programming on a Chromebook. Okay, all right. You can read the book on the Chromebook. This will work on a Chromebook because Chromebook can read any website. So this should work fine on a Chromebook, but Dr. Java probably won't. Okay, all right. Now let's see, what have we got? Let's go back to the course website. Okay, so, okay, there's a first programming assignment. Let's look at that. It's due a week from today, and it's the real point of the programming assignment is for you to get Java on your computer at home. Okay, so go to the program. Okay, here's the page where you'll have all your homework assignments listed, but the homework assignment itself is actually on a separate page. So click on, so here's a description of the homework assignment. Every homework assignment starts with a zip file. So download the zip file for the homework assignment. Okay, so I've got that zip file on my desktop. First thing is unzip the zip file. You pretty much don't need the zip file after you've unzipped it. So you can just delete the zip file. That's probably a good idea to do that so you don't get mixed up about whether, don't get mixed up. Like you can't do the homework assignment in the zip file. You'll get all messed up. Every year I get someone send me a homework email saying my computer doesn't work. I can't do blah, blah, blah. And it turns out they were trying to do blah, blah, blah inside of a zip file. It's a real easy mistake to make. So get rid of the zip file. Okay, here, this document here just is this web page. I just stick the web page in the folder. So if you double click on this, it's just a copy of the web page. Okay, so you can read the homework assignment without an internet connection. This is a Java program that you're going to complete and then send back to me. Okay, so I want to open that in Dr. Java. So I want to double click Dr. Java. And here's homework 1. And it's kind of a half-empty program. It's a starter program, and you're supposed to put code in here to finish the assignment. And what you're supposed to do is put code in there that draws this picture here. Okay, so for example, I want that line of output. So I'm going to copy that. Now I get output by typing a Java command that reads system.out.println. This is the first chapter of the book talks about this. Then I create the output string, and I'm going to paste what I just copied. Then I, yeah, somebody have a question?
Do you have to put that much space between before this line?
Yes. Yeah, it should look just like this. We'll see later what the book talks about this. The spacing is real important. So I see how I indented that. What I'm doing is I'm indenting every time there's a brace. After the brace, I indent 1, 2, 3 spaces. Then see after the brace, I indent 1, 2, 3 spaces. That's actually important. And the book explains why. So when you read the textbook, they'll explain, yes, you do want to what we call indent and space your program properly like this. Okay? And then I close this thing called the string, and I close the parentheses, and I put the semicolon. Then I can compile my program, and I can run it. And notice I've got a little bit of what I want for the output of this. Okay, now I want the next line of output. Okay, so I'm going to copy, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do system.out.println quote. I'm going to paste that thing in there. Then I'll put a close quote, a parentheses and a semicolon, and I'll compile it. I'm building a program. I'm going to click on this always compile before. So I'm going to stop with this yesing. So I'm going to click that little guy, just say yes, resave my files every time. Then I want to run it. Notice I'm starting to build up my output. Okay. And now you're going to finish this program. Okay. And you'll get an output down here. And what I want you to do is when you get this work, now you're going to, at home, you're going to install Dr. Java, you're going to download this homework assignment, you're going to type in this code, and you'll get it running. When it's all done, I want you to take a screenshot of your Dr. Java. And here's an example what I mean. See, I give you a sample screenshot. Your program should look like something like this. Okay. Now I didn't finish this one. This one's also not finished. So this is a screenshot of a partially finished homework assignment. Notice that you should be putting your, up here, one of the things I want you to do is put your name up here. And below your name, put your email address. I want you to put your email address in there so that if I want to send you an email saying, I noticed something about your program, I want to tell you about it, I don't have to go look up your email. By you putting your email address in there, I can just copy and paste it into my mail program and send you a note about your homework assignment real quick without having to look up your email address. So put your name in every one of the assignments. Every time you turn in something for homework, you should have your name in it and put your email address in it. Okay. So, it shows you like, the screenshot here shows you kind of what that should look like. Well, I have the course, name, email address, which assignment you're trying. It's actually not a bad idea to say which assignment you're working on. Though the name of the file usually tells you that. See, the name of the file is homework 1. Okay. So when you've got everything working, you take a screenshot. Now, if you've never taken a screenshot, the way to do that is on your keyboard, there's a key. Every keyboard is different, but there's a key that has something to the effect of print screen. Like on my keyboard, it's spelled PRTSC, which is an abbreviation of print screen. Sometimes it spells out the whole phrase, print screen. Sometimes it just says PRNTSCRN, or mine is PRTSC. But every keyboard has a key somewhere that is print screen. If you tap the print screen key, it takes a snapshot of your desktop. Now, if you go to the Windows item here and click on that and type Paint, Paint lets you save screenshots. So like right now, I took a screenshot of my desktop and I pasted it in here, but I don't want you to take a screenshot of your desktop. I want you to take a screenshot of just Dr. Java. So this is not the right thing to do. So the way you take a screenshot of just one program is you use the print screen at this, don't save. You hold down the Alt, there's another key on your keyboard called ALT, the alternative key, the Alt key. You hold down the Alt key and tap the print screen key. So I just did that. I held down Alt key, tap the print screen key, then go to the Windows menu, type Paint. Paint lets you save screenshots, paste the screenshot. See, now I've got a screenshot of just Dr. Java. Okay.
Could you use the snipping tool?
You can use anything you want. If you're used to this kind of thing, use anything you want for taking the screenshot. If somebody hasn't ever done this before, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to take a screenshot. So there are all kinds of tools that'll let you take screenshots. But the snipping tool is fine. Okay, so then say, if you're doing it this way, you click save this as homework 1. I tend to save things on my desktop. Whoops, what happened? Yeah, see, now I've got it saved on my desktop. Where'd it go? I thought I saved it on my desktop. Did I mess up? Oh, let me do that again. So I want to file, save, homework1.png. I want to save it on the desktop. Okay, there it is. So there's the screenshot. Put the screenshot in the folder with the code. So just put it, just if you want, you can delete the sample that I gave you. You don't need the sample, so you can just delete the sample. Oops. You can delete the sample and then drag your screenshot into there. Okay, right? And then delete the class file, delete the homework document, delete this. Dr. Java creates a little backup copy of your program, so you don't need those. And then you're going to send me, when you're done, you will send me a zip file using Brightspace. Now, the way you create a zip file is you highlight, okay, you've got this homework 1 folder that you downloaded from my website, and then you do your homework in this folder. So this is your version of the Java file. This is your screenshot of your program running. Then you highlight these files and you right-click on them and you go down here to send to compressed zip folder. Okay, and then notice that Windows created the zip file. Now it's called homework1.zip, but for when you submit it to me, what I want you to call it is CS123 homework1 your last name .zip. That way, when you submit it to me, I know what class it came from, which homework assignment it is, and who sent it to me. If you send me something called homework.zip and I get 50 of those, it's a real nuisance for me to figure out who sent me which of the 50 homework1.zip files I got. So I ask you to send it to me like this. Now, I give you instructions to do that on the course website, but they're not finished writing yet. On the course website, there's this homework page. See this link to turning in your assignment? I haven't finished writing those instructions yet. So I have to finish that tonight. This page here will give you the instructions that I just talked about how to zip up your homework, give it this name, and then use Brightspace to upload it, the homework assignment, to Brightspace. So you'll submit your homeworks to Brightspace, and then they'll get graded, and you'll get points back for them, okay? Now, this isn't much of a homework assignment. This is the real goal of this homework assignment, is to get you to make sure you have Java working on your computer at home. Okay, so it's worth 10 points. It's not worth a whole lot. It's due a week from today, and its main purpose is to get you to get Java working on your computer at home and to use the Brightspace tool for uploading, which I haven't created yet. Another thing I have to do besides creating this page that tells you how to do the uploading, I have to create the entry into the Brightspace. For this course on Brightspace, I need to create a little place for you to submit your homework assignments. So I haven't done that yet either. So I'll have a place on Brightspace for you to upload the homework assignment, and there'll be instructions here on how to do that. Okay? All right. Every homework assignment is going to be like this. Every homework assignment will have a page that describes it. There'll be a zip file that comes with it. In the zip file will be a program that's starting out. Usually, it'll be called homework1.java, homework2.java, homework3.java. There'll be a file that more or less outlines what a starting program, and you'll complete it. You'll complete this program. Then when you completed it, you put your name in it, and then you'll zip it up and submit the zip file. Okay. Sometimes your homework assignment will be more than one file. That's one of the reasons why we use zip files, because sometimes your homework assignment will be, like in this case, your homework assignment's 2 files, the Java file and the PNG. Do not send me this file and this file. Put them in a zip file and send me the zip file, okay? So that's part of the course. Part of it is, in the world of programming, everybody gives you rules and directions. Otherwise, programming becomes a nightmare. If people don't follow rules, programming is so meticulous and so detailed oriented. Every company has real detailed rules about how everyone is supposed to do their job. So part of this class is what appear to be picky rules, but the rules are not picky because, I'll give you an example. When I grade your homework assignment, I'll have 40 programs I need to compile. I do not want to open 40 files in Dr. Java, click compile 40 times and run the programs 40 times. I will write a program that compiles your programs. Okay, I write a program that compiles all your programs. Then I just double click on my program that compiles your programs, and it'll compile all your programs, give me all the error messages, tell me whose programs compiled correctly and whose programs didn't compile correctly. I automate this stuff. But the only way my automation works is if everything is named properly. If you call this thing something else, my program won't find your program to compile, because my program will look for homework1.java in your zip file. And that's the way the computer world works. Everything has got to be named just right so that our programs run just right. So we have lots of rules, and we ask you to do things in very picky ways so that we save time. In my case, it's so that I can run one program that compiles and runs everybody in the class's program, gathers all their outputs, checks that the outputs are correct, and sends me a report saying who did it right and who did it wrong. Okay? And if you don't follow the rules, then my program will fail on your programming assignment. Then I have to grudgingly go look at your programming assignment separately, and you know, that's usually not what you want. You don't want me having to look at your assignment separately. If you have questions, I'll look at your assignment at any time. But when it's time to grade them, the goal is that you have everything just right, so that when I go to run everybody's program, your program just runs correctly, just like it's supposed to. If your program isn't doing what the assignment asks it to, ask questions. Your goal is for every homework assignment to get it perfect. Okay, and that's doable. That's very doable to get every programming assignment perfect. But if it's not, ask questions. If you're not getting one part of the homework assignment quite right, ask what you can do to fix the thing that's not working in that one part. Okay, so the goal is to get everything, and programming is like that. When things don't work perfect, we call them bugs, and bugs cause all kinds of grief in the world. They can, in the worst case, they crash airplanes. And there's very famous examples of what really amount to silly bugs. Every disaster involving software is actually, believe it or not, a silly little bug. It's amazing how silly, somebody forgot to name something, or they misspelled a word. It's unbelievable how silly, what look like silly little trivial mistakes lead to disasters. Programming is strange. Programming is very much about details. Things have to be perfect, otherwise you have bugs, and the bugs can cause all kinds of grief. Okay, so I give you very detailed instructions about the homework assignments, and they're to make things work better for all of us. Okay, now let's see, where are we?
Excuse me, are you able to make a folder a zip folder by just renaming the ending?
No, you have to use this little tool. Yeah, if you just rename it, Windows doesn't pay any attention to that. So if I delete this, you have to highlight what's in the folder, and I right-click on it after it's highlighted, and then say send to compressed zip file.
Oh.
Okay. Now there is another way to do it, but I don't think this is actually quite as good a way. See, here I'm above the folder. I'm at my desktop. I can right-click on the folder and say send to compressed zip file. But that actually does something wrong. That creates a folder holding a folder. What that actually created was a folder holding a folder, not a folder holding two files. It created a folder holding a folder. Then that folder holds two files, which is not really what I want. Notice that it's a subtle difference. So if you right-click on a folder, let me just do that over again, show you a subtle difference about how detailed, this is what I was talking about a second ago. Details matter in the world of computers. If you right-click on a folder and you say send to compressed zip file, what it really creates is a zip file holding a folder which holds your files, which is quite often not what you want. On the other hand, if you open the folder and highlight the files in it, and then right-click on the highlighted files and say send to compressed zip file, that creates a zip file holding your files. real subtle difference, but it's a difference. And it's a difference that in some situations can cause, in some situations, one of these would be right and one of these would be wrong. In the situation of this class, it doesn't really matter. When people send me a zip file holding a folder holding files, I just have to delete. I have one more step. After I unzip your folder, I have to get rid of the folder that's in the zip folder. Okay. So I kind of prefer that you do it the way where you highlight the files in the folder and then right click the files and say send to zip file. Either way works. This is the way that I think works better. Okay. But you can't just rename a folder. That won't work. Like here, if I just go here and say .zip. Oh, actually, it won't. Right now, it won't. I can't rename the folder because I have it open in Dr. Java. So you have to close all these. Okay. Now go here. Okay. See, how do I know that's not a zip file? Kind of a trick question. How do I know that's not really a zip file?
Would you open it and look for the like red extracted thing?
But
Before I
there's
even
no
open
zip
it,
on the folder.
what else can I look at?
There's no zip.
There's no, see the icon? Like let me view medium icons. Where is it? Ugh. See? Or view extra large icons. Where did that folder go?
I saw it on the left side.
Oh, there it is. See, it doesn't have the zip. See, it's got the icon of a folder, not the icon of a zip file. Even though, see, Windows is screwy. You got to be real careful with Windows. See, just because I called it homework1.zip, that doesn't mean anything to Windows. It only, because I didn't use the zip feature of Windows to make the zip file, Windows doesn't care that I called it .zip. It's not a zip file. And if you open it, see, it doesn't show that bar up here. It's not really a zip file. Now, here's something funny. What do you think is going to happen if I right click on this and say send to compressed zip file? Anyone want make a guess? What do you think I'll get?
.zip.
Yes, I'll get .zip. See, I got homework1.zip because I zipped up something called homework1.zip. So the middle zip doesn't really mean anything, and the end zip means it's really a zip file. Okay, and then if you open it, you see that little colored bar up there that warns you that you're inside of a zip file. And then my zip file has in it a folder called homework1.zip, which is not a zip file. Notice that if you want to confuse people, Windows will be happy to let you do things in really confusing ways. This is a real problem in computers. They are very strange devices. You can endlessly confuse people with modern computers. Just if you do dumb little things, actually they're not even dumb. They sound reasonable. That's actually the worst thing about it, is that things that sound reasonable, like you just change the name of the folder to zip. Let's see, let me get out of this, I'm lost now. If you take a folder and rename it .zip, why wouldn't that create a zip file? Sounds reasonable. And there's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff that we see in the semester. Things that sound reasonable don't work the way you would want them to. So that would actually be a very clever thing, that in Windows, if you took a folder and you renamed it .zip, it became a zip file. Sell that idea to Microsoft. See if they agree with you. Right? My guess is they'll tell you, no, we don't like that idea. Because if they liked it, they probably would have done it. For some reason, it doesn't work that way. You only get a zip file by right-clicking and saying send to compressed zip folder. Okay. Now on my computer, I actually have a special. Now, when I do this, I'm using Microsoft's built-in compressor, which is not really a very good compressor. There's a much better free one that you can download called 7-Zip. I actually use 7-zip for all my compressed files. So 7-zip, is a program. You can download it. It's great. It's a really great tool for creating zip files and working with zip files. After you've installed 7-zip, you will have a 7-zip menu item when you right-click. See, when I right-click, I have Microsoft send to compressed, which I never use myself. I always use the 7-zip thing. 7-zip lets you do a lot of things. You can compress in different formats. You can encrypt your zip files. You can do all kinds of funny things. Okay, so I actually use 7-zip. And most people at school, we have 7-zip on all the university's computers. You know, so as a campus, we put 7-zip on every computer on campus. It's a great tool. So Windows will create and Windows will unzip and zip files for you, but it doesn't have very many features. If you want to zip and unzip files with lots of features, you get 7-zip. Okay. All right. Let's see. What do we got? About 10 minutes left, or let's see. Yeah, we have a few minutes left. Back here at the course website, let's see what we've done. Okay, so again, the video of what we've been doing will be up here after class. Okay, we've looked at the first homework assignment, so I think you have a good sense of how to get started with the homework assignment. We installed Java. Actually, this is the first thing you should do. You install Java first. Here's a link to a little explanation of how Dr. Java works. A couple page explanation of Dr. Java. Okay, kind of nice explanation. It was done at University of Pennsylvania. You can see up here it's University of Pennsylvania. They wrote it. Okay, it's a nice little description of Dr. Java. So that's like, then here's your first reading assignment. Read chapter 1, then follow that with chapter 2. What we talked about today was chapter 1, and then what we'll talk about on Thursday is going to be chapter 2. And then you can do this homework assignment that's at the end of chapter 1. Okay, so that's this idea of error messages. Actually, we talked about error messages. What assignment 1 tells you to do is take one of the Hello World programs, any one of these programs that are up here, these various Hello World programs. And they tell you to try things like, what happens if you remove one of the opening curly braces? What happens if you remove one of the closing curly braces? Misspell main as Mayan. Drop the word static. What happens? Drop the word public. What happens? Remove the word so they want you to see what kind of error messages you get when you do these mistakes. Okay? So the assignment is to just start familiarizing yourself with the different kinds of error messages, because you will see them a lot as you're writing your own code. You'll compile and get error messages, and you'll have to fix typos all the time. This is to help you get a sense of what error messages are related to what different kinds of typos. Okay, so that's a homework exercise. You can either do it in Dr. Java, or you could do it right here in their page by using one of these examples up here. Okay, or you could take one of the examples, copy it into Dr. Java and do it, or you could do it directly in here. In fact, on the course website, I even point out there's a third way. We'll do this a lot later on. See this hyperlink? Click on it. Here's another version of Java. This is called the Java Visualizer. We'll be using this later on. It's like an online version of Dr. Java. Okay, it lets you run programs on the internet, but what it actually does is it lets you run programs step by step. We'll see later on that this is the thing that lets you run programs step by step. I'll show you real quickly what I mean by that. Here's a program with lots of steps. Okay, and this is Hello World. I'll make it so this is Hello World 1, Hello World 2, Hello World 3, Hello World 4. So I've got lots of steps to this program. Okay, what happens when I run it? the computer actually runs your program step by step. And this thing lets me step through my program. So I'm going to click forward button, and see, the computer's about to do step 5. I click forward, and see, I get hello world 1. And now it's ready to do line 6. Click forward. It did line 6. There's the output. Now it's ready to do line 7. This is really useful when you're trying to figure out what's wrong with a program. It lets you step through a program, seeing what it does step by step. And sometimes you'll see that it does something you didn't expect it to do. So we'll use this for understanding how Java programs work. So this is another resource. Dr. Java can do something like this, but this thing does it way better than Dr. Java does it. So this is a website called the Java Visualizer. And the way it works is, here is the editing pane. That's where you put your code. But then when you want to run your code, you click on this visualize button, and it takes you to another page where it then lets you step through your program. Now, if you want, you can go back here and generate error messages. See, but notice the error messages are just pop-ups now. Okay, so the error messages are kind of funny. The error messages are pop-up windows. If I misspell something, see, the error messages are little pop-up windows, which is not so great. This setup wasn't really meant for getting rid of your errors. It's really designed for seeing how your program works. So more than likely, you might use something like Dr. Java to get rid of the errors. Then you can copy and paste code from one to the other. And what I'll do a lot is I'll have links in my website to programs that are on this website. This is what we'll do a lot of times. I'll have written the code ahead of time, and I can create links to them on my website. So I can create a link to a program. We'll use this a lot, okay? So here you can create mistakes, and then sometimes it's slow. Oh, it's acting real slow this time. Every once in a while, it just is very, very slow. There, finally, there's the pop-up error. You're missing a parentheses. Okay? Right. So that's another way to play with Java. We'll use this a lot. Later on this semester, we'll use the Java Visualizer. We'll bounce between Dr. Java and the Java Visualizer and the textbook. The textbook's got its own way of doing code. The Java Visualizer is really useful, and Dr. Java is the way you'll do your homework assignments. Okay, actually, we've run out of time. Anybody got a last question? Anybody got a question to ask before we quit? If you end up with any kind of glitches trying to get Java working on your computer, send me an email. The tool for submitting homework 1 isn't available on Brightspace yet. So if you do it right away, yeah, you might have to wait a day or two before the tool is available for you to submit your homework assignment. It's not due till a week from today. So it's actually not due for a week. And anybody got any last question? Okay. Look for if you want to review anything we talked about, like I say, the video for this will be up there in a little while, and you can replay as much or any of this as you want. Okay, so I'll go ahead and
could I ask a question still?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So if I've been doing coding on my own, could I come to you at the office hours about other questions just
Sure.
to work through?
Yeah, send email or come to office hours, either one.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll try to help. Yeah,
Okay.
I can't guarantee that I'll know the answer to everything, but I'll try to help. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing first. Okay. And then now I can end the class meeting. So again, if anybody's got any questions, send them to me by email, and I'm gonna end the class now. So see you Thursday. Bye.